Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. All praises to the Most High. I want to give you a short commentary for edification purposes on the origins of Christmas. I want to show you some historical background, and we're going to see if Christmas is mentioned in the Bible. Let us go to Revelations 12 and verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. Let's read that again and place close attention. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. How does he deceive the whole world? The term deceive means to persuade someone that something that is false is the truth, and to keep the truth hidden for their own advantage. So, with that being said, I want to give you some historical background and insight on what Christmas literally originated from. Have you ever wondered why you celebrate Christmas on the 25th, or why you put an evergreen tree in your living room, or why you decorate it with silver and gold, or why there's a star on top of it, or why do you carry gifts to and fro or provide gifts? Why is that? Why is there a log on the fireplace, and why is there a mistletoe? I'm going to read you some excerpts and comments from a book called The Two Babylons, written by Alexander Hislop in 1857. It was republished. Pay close attention. And it reads, how then did the Romish Church fix on December 25th as Christmas Day? Why thus? Long before the 4th century and long before the Christian era itself, the festival was celebrated among the heathen. And that precise time of the year, in honor of the birth of the son of Babylon, which is Nimrod, queen of heaven. And it may fairly be presumed that in order to conciliate the heathen, that means to appease them in certain acts, to swell the number of the nominal adherents to Christianity, to get more people into their church. The same festival was adopted by the Roman Church, giving it only the name of Christ. So that's why you celebrate it on the 25th. This is the tendency on part of Christians to meet paganism halfway, was very early developed. By us, say he, who are strangers to Sabbaths and the new moons and festivals once acceptable to God, the Saturnalia, which is a worship of Saturn, the feast of January, the Brumalia, the Matronalia, are now frequented. Gifts are carried to and fro. New Year's Day, presents are made with din and sports, and banquets are celebrated with an uproar. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathen to their religion, who take special care to adopt solemnity from the Christians. That's why you have gifts under your tree, and you carry them to and fro, one to another. That Christmas was originally a pagan festival is beyond all doubt. The time of the year and the ceremonies with which it is still celebrated prove its origin. In Egypt, the son of Isis, the Egyptian title for the Queen of Heaven, was born at this very time, about the time of the winter solstice, the very name by which Christmas is popularly known among ourselves. Yule Day proves at once its pagan and Babylonian origin. Yule is a Chaldean name for infant. That's the reason they implemented the birth of Christ, or little child. And as the 25th of December was called by our pagan Anglo-Saxon ancestors Yule Day or Child's Day, and the night that preceded it, Mother's Night, long before there came any contact with Christianity, that sufficiently proves its real character. Okay, it reads on. The candles. This is the reason why you like candles. In some parts of England, lighted on Christmas Eve and used so long as the festive season lasts, were equally lighted by the pagans on the eve of the festival of the Babylonian god to do honor to him, for it was one of distinguishing of his worship to have lighted wax candles on his altar. The Christmas tree, now so common among us. This is the reason why you have a Christmas tree. This is historically. The Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in pagan Rome and pagan Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was a palm tree. In Rome, it was a fir. The palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal Tamar, the fir referring to him as Baal Berith. The mother of Adonis, the sun god, remember that, the sun god, and great mediatorial divinity, was mystically said to have been changed into a tree, and when in that state, to have brought forth her divine son. If the mother was a tree, then the son must have been recognized as the man branch. And this is entirely accounts of putting a Yule log into the fire on Christmas Eve, and the appearance of the Christmas tree the next morning. So why do they put the log in the fire? Watch this. But why, it may be asked, does he enter the fire, talking about the log, under the symbol of a log? To understand this, it must be remembered that the divine child born at winter solstice was born as a new incarnation of the great God. That is the historical background of Christmas as written in Alexander Hislop's book, The Two Babylons. So the winter solstice, during the winter solstice, when the sun is at its lowest point and when it began to go to its highest point, the pagan and idolaters, idol worshipers, took this as a sign that the sun was regaining its strength, and they began to make deities unto it. The Egyptians called it Horus. The Greeks called it Athenos. The Romans called it Apollo. The Babylonians called it Baal, and became known as Nimrod by his mother after his death. His mother was named Semiramis, and she made him into a deity after he had died. Let us go to Colossians 2 and verse 8. Watch what the Bible says. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. The Bible says, beware. That means to be cautious, to look out, lest any man spoil you through vain philosophy. Spoil means to take by force or forcibly take. When a nation has conquered another nation, they do what is called, they spoil their goods, or a nation take the wealth of the other nation. That's what it means to be spoiled. When you have been spoiled through vain philosophy or lies of men, they have stolen the truth from you deceitfully and replaced it through falseness. Let us go to the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 7 and 8. And it reads, "And when she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over the flock by night." So that tells us and reveals to us that it was impossible for them to be feeding the flocks in the winter time in December, because there was no foliage during the winter months, and they wasn't putting sheep out there at night in the winter months. You have to think about these things. So what is this saying? That Christ was not born in winter month of December. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 5 and verse 6. Watch this. Deuteronomy 5 and verse 6. And let's go at verse 6 and 7. Verse 6 and 7. "I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt not have, or thou shalt have none other gods before me." Let us go to Deuteronomy 17 and verse number 2 and verse 3. Watch this. "If there be found among you within any of the gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, which that there should be no other gods before him, and hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them," watch this, "either the sun or the moon or any host of heaven which I have commanded." Why do God continuously to tell the children of Israel not to worship the sun, the moon, or any host of heaven? Let us go to Ezekiel 8 and verse 6 and watch this. Ezekiel 8 and verse 13 to 16. Watch this. "He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz." Tammuz was the male god of fertility, and the female god of fertility was Ashtaroth or Ishtar or Astarte, which the word Easter come from. Let's read on. "Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and see thou, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these." Let's read that again. "Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see a greater abominations than these. What does he mean? What does he mean by this? Let us go to 1 Kings 16 and verse 30. Watch this. First Kings 16 and verse 30. And it reads, and Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord above all that were before him. And verse 32, and he reared up an altar before Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. So Ahab was ruling over Samaria, which was one of the northern kingdom. You can go back and read in 1 Kings chapter 12, when the split in Israel came and Judah and Benjamin remained in the southern kingdom, and the other 10 tribes went to the northern kingdom, and they went into idolatry. Let's read. And Ahab made a grove, and Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, God of Israel, to anger than all the kings of Israel that were before him. That's why they said in Ezekiel that there was a greater abomination than even these, because of what Ahab did in worshiping and leading the 10 tribes of the northern tribe into a great idolatry, worshiping Baal and making groves and making idols unto him. Let us go to 1 Kings 18 and 24. Watch this. And call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God that answered by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well. This is the time when they was trying to prove who was the true and living God. Was it the prophets, the 450 prophets of Ahab, or was it the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Let's read. Verse 25. And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose one bullock for yourselves and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under it. Let's go to verse 38. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifices and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. So we see that the God of Israel, the fire came down and completely decimated the altar and licked up the stones and decimated what was consumed. Verse 39, and when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook of Kishon and slew them there. So you see that the northern tribe of Israel had went straight into idolatry, worshiping under King Ahab Baal. What is Baal? Let us go to Jeremiah 10, and watch this, in verse 1 through 5. Jeremiah 10, verse 1 through 5. This is where Christmas is found in the Bible. I guarantee you, your pastor never showed you this. This is what God said unto the children of Israel. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heavens are dismayed, for the heathen are dismayed at them. What were the signs of heaven? The same thing God spoke to the children of Israel in Deuteronomy when he said, don't worship the sun, the moon, and the stars. That's the reason some worship astrology, which is the worship of the stars, getting your signs. Well, America and various countries get the signs, Cancer, Sagittarius, Capricorn. That's the worship of the stars. So God said, don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven as the other nations are. Watch what he says. For the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs to be born because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. What holiday is God telling us not to do as the heathen do? I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to read it slow. And I want you to think in your mind, what holiday is this in the Bible that you're getting ready to celebrate in a few days? I'm going to read it again. Jeremiah 10 and verse number 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the custom of the people are vain. One cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the axemen. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. What holiday is this God is describing in the Bible, in which he is telling us not to do, not to commemorate, not to celebrate as the heathen do? This day, God is telling us in the Bible not to celebrate the day in which you call Christmas, which is not a holy day. It is a unholy day. Watch, what are they celebrating with this ritual they are doing every year? They're trying to fulfill at the end of the year. Watch what they are celebrating. Let's go over one chapter to Jeremiah 9 and verse 13. Watch what the Bible says. And the Lord said, because they have forsaken my law, which I have set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein, but have walked after the imaginations of their own heart, after Baalim, which is plural for Baal or Baalim, with which their fathers has taught them. The celebration of Christmas and the rituals that you do with this holiday is the actual worship of Baalim or Baal or Baal. Let's see what Christ said Baal is. Let's go to Luke. Let's go to 2 Kings first. I want to show you something. 1 and 2. Let's go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings 1 and verse 1. Watch what the Bible says. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Ahijah, fell down through the lattice in the upper chamber that was in Samaria, which is where the northern kingdom of Israel dwelt, and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, which I shall recover of this disease. He was requiring of the Baal-zebub for his illness. Who is Baal-zebub? Let's see who Christ said. Baal-zebub, which is the Greek word for Baal. Let's see, that's the one they was worshiping in Jeremiah 10 and verse number 2 through number 6, 7, and 8 concerning the Christmas tree. Let's see who Christ said Baal, or the Greek term Baal-zebub. Let's see who Christ said that is. Let's go to Luke 11 and verse 15. Watch what Christ says. Let's start at verse 14. And he was casting out a devil, and it was dumb. And it came to pass, when the devil was gone out, the dumb spake, the people wondered. But some of them said, he casted out devils through Beelzebub, the chief of devils. Verse number 18. If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because he say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. Baal is Beelzebub, which is Satan, which is what they was worshiping in Jeremiah 10 and verse number 4. Let's turn back to that so you can see the ritual you are playing out in December. In a couple of days or so, you are worshiping Baal-zebub, which is the Greek word for Baal. Let's go back to Jeremiah 10 one more time so I can ingrain this in your head, exactly what you are getting ready to do. Jeremiah 10 and verse number 3. Let's go back to that. Verse 3, for the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
Chop. Oh yeah. Nice.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. That is your Christmas day in the Bible. I want you to understand, and I hope this commentary will wake some of you up. Anyone telling you, any pastor, anyone telling you to celebrate this day, it is an abomination. And that is an unlearned pastor. I hope and pray that this commentary has awakened you to exactly what you are doing when you celebrate the day in which you call Christmas. I have given you some historical background, and I have given you some biblical proof concerning what you are literally doing on that day. I hope this blessed you, and I hope it has enlightened you. And with all of this, I say, shalom and peace be unto you.